Hey everyone, this is Jordan from the Uninteresting podcast. This is not episode 3. I mean, this is episode 3, but this part where I'm talking right now, this is recorded much after episode 3. This is sort of an introduction to episode 3. This is not episode 3 itself. Basically, what I wanted to say is I apologize about the audio in this episode, and possibly future episodes. I haven't gotten around to editing the ones after this yet. But there's some, I don't know how it happened, but somehow the software I used to record this got double tracks of me record like my voice from my microphone, and for some reason they're both embedded into the same track, so I can't remove them, and occasionally they fall out of sync with each other. I have no idea how this happened. So there's always a weird stereo effect on my voice in this episode. But for some reason, there are certain sections of the podcast where they then drift slightly out of sync. And when it's just the stereo effect, it's not too bad to listen to. But when it starts drifting, it's not as good. So I apologize about that in advance. Anyway, this episode in itself is not the best. If this is your first time listening to the Uninteresting podcast, please go back and listen to the first 2 episodes instead. Because they're much better than this. We were all sort of like in a daze recording this one. I'm not really sure. And sometimes that leads to great content, but in this case it led to great tragedy. But anyway, yeah, so this is episode 3. I believe the title is going to be the Jason Alexander Power Hour. Incidentally, the stuff where we're talking about Jason Alexander is probably the weakest part of this episode. It's the beginning part as well. Once we get past that, the episode starts picking up some steam, in my opinion. Still, I think the first 2 episodes are better, and the episodes we recorded after this one are also better and worth listening to. So please, if you don't like this one, stick around. Maybe don't. I don't know. I'm making excuses. Or I'm not making excuses. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like warning you. Anyway, also I just wanted to address this sort of brief hiatus period I just had on my YouTube channel. This is not another situation where I've just stopped and I'm disappearing for another year or 2 like it has been in the past. There is more stuff coming. We've recorded up to episode 8, I think, of the podcast already. I think that's right, maybe 7. I don't know, but there's a lot of the podcast has been recorded, and we've banked those recordings, and I'm going to start editing and releasing them probably on a bi-weekly basis, and hopefully there will be new episodes of It's Subjective soon. I have a few. I have one completely written, and I have a few that are in various stages of production. I just need to get around to getting them made. I recently took a brief vacation, and then that sort of led me into this weird space where I was just like not doing anything relating to YouTube stuff, and it was much needed, but now I'm back and making stuff. So anyway, that was a long disclaimer just to tell you that my voice is a little fucked up in this episode, and I haven't stopped. There's still stuff coming. So also this episode sucks a little bit, but hey, the other ones are better. All right, without further ado, here is episode 3. I don't know why this is episode 3.
And I'm sitting there with Woody, and I turn to him and I go, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Is that how you're going to say it? No, I'm working on it.
Do it like this. These pretzels are making me thirsty.
These pretzels are making me thirsty. No, see, that's no good. See, you don't know how to act. These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Welcome to the episode 3 of the Uninteresting podcast. Very happy to have y'all here for the the Jason Alexander Power. I fucked it up. The Jason Alexander Power Hour, episode 3, or Uninteresting podcast episode 3, just a Jason Alexander Power Hour. I am Jordan Wysong, and I'm here with my good fellow pals, Johnny and Hal, big Jason Alexander fans. Am I right?
Oh, you are not wrong, sir. Big fan here.
I am Jason Alexander.
Wow.
No, big fan. Big fan all around. Greatly indebted to what he did for my family back in the late 90s when he conceived me.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Not a day
Big
goes
fan.
by where I don't think or think of him in some regard.
Yeah. We apparently did not talk about Jason. I honestly don't remember. I remember the conversation. We talked about him, the three of us, but apparently it was not on the record of the podcast. So we decided that we should really give him his due, I suppose. And that's why we're here today. We're here to celebrate the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Alexander. Mr. Alexander, holy shit, his name is actually J. Scott Greenspan. Did you know that? That's his birth name.
Any connection
it's-
to Alan Greenspan?
Alan Greenspan?
Yeah.
Is that
What about J. Scott C-SPAN?
He's part of the C-SPAN family. He owns C-SPAN 3.
ESPN 2.
ESPN 2. He owns C-SPAN 3, ESPN 2, and Nick at Night, but only at night.
Only those, yeah. Yeah, I guess we just really wanted to kind of get into it. What do you think about Mr. Alexander? What is some of your favorite parts of his legacy? This is a leading question.
Should we talk about where we were when we first were exposed to Jason Alexander? Exposed was the wrong word. When were you first aware of him or appreciated him?
There is home video. I'll have to find it. I need to get my camcorder working again. But there's home video of me as a child before I was able to really speak. So probably like 1.5, 2, I don't know. Watching Seinfeld on television with my family. I was like playing with toys, and I would just sort of occasionally stare at the TV as Jason Alexander, as George Costanza would just scream various things like Jerry, stuff like that, and you could say I was fixated on it.
So maybe not. You weren't quite sure what you were watching, but I think, needless to say, you were at least aware
I think I knew
the
what
genius.
I was watching. I think I understood. I think it's
Seinfeld. Okay.
yeah.
I can't say where I was or how old I was, but I do have a fun anecdote that happened recently involving Mr. Alexander. I was cleaning out with one of my siblings just some old tapes and DVDs and stuff, and the one that I could not bring myself to throw out was Seinfeld DVD case with the man himself on the front cover.
Just
I was going to send... Yeah.
So no DVD.
No. It was a DVD, but there were...
Okay.
It was kind of mixed in with some VHS tapes and things of that sort. So, I don't think you can get more classic than having his face emblazoned on a DVD case.
Having his face inflated.
Inflated.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother, podcast episode 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about inflation, Jason Alexander. But what about you, Johnny?
So honest to goodness, my first exposure to Jason Alexander came not from Seinfeld, but in 2001, around Christmas time. There was this one commercial that he did for KFC, and I don't know why it has stuck with me, why it has resonated with me for so long, but I'm glad it did, because I've got a lot of joy going back and revisiting this specific commercial almost 20 years later. I just just quick rundown of what happens in the commercial in case you haven't seen it. Just 2001 Christmas with Jason Alexander, Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. There is, I'm convinced this is the most confusing commercial of all time. So I'll try and make this brief here. But basically, it's Christmas time inside a mall, right? And there is a Santa standing outside a burger joint in the mall, and he has a tray with fried chicken in it that he is giving to these kids who are walking up to him. Jason Alexander is on the second story of the mall, sees this, carrying Kentucky Fried Chicken of his own. Instead of using the escalator, proceeds to jump off the second story. He goes down a huge candy cane and descends to the first story, where he then goes and gives his own fried chicken to the kids. There's a lot to unpack here. Number one, why is there a mall Santa giving away chicken? Why is he doing it outside a burger joint? We see that the KFC is on the first story, but somehow Jason Alexander is on the second story with his KFC chicken nuggets. He has not eaten any of the chicken nuggets, which would seem to suggest that he got them on the first story, then walked up to the second story and didn't eat any. Why does he not use the escalators immediately to his right? Why does he have to jump down the pole, risking his life? I don't know. Yeah. And he did his own stunt work for that too. And I think that's where I think that's where my appreciation began, because the commitment to the role, the fact Jason Alexander did his own stunt work, the fact you can see the passion in his eyes for the KFC popcorn chicken. I don't know. It was in that moment that I realized he was a man worthy of my respect.
I feel like I have to interject here briefly and say that vividly I recall a conversation that Johnny and I had in an IHOP about maybe 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
About this commercial that lasted hours, no exaggeration. And it did unlock a memory in me. I do have vague recollections of watching that commercial, and having seen it on YouTube since, I do know that I had seen it before. I more vividly recall another commercial that he did for KFC around the same time, I think maybe a little later. Might have been before, but since it wasn't Christmas, they just played it year-round, where he's playing baseball. I want to say with Michael Jordan. Maybe not.
Michael Richards.
that was a very different commercial.
Okay.
But he's playing baseball with somebody who's a baseball player. And it's a KFC commercial. I think they toss chicken around. I don't remember the specifics as well as I do about the Christmas commercial, just because we've really gotten a lot of viewing of that Christmas KFC commercial with Jason Alexander. We've gotten a lot of analysis out of it. I believe classes are being taught about it, so I've seen it a lot more since. But
well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just want to make sure I understood correctly. They were throwing KFC around.
I feel like they were. At the very least, they were playing baseball, and then the baseball player's like, "Oh man, I'm hungry," and he sits down on like the bench, in the baseball stadium, and Jason Alexander's like, "You know what I like to eat on a hot summer day in the middle of a baseball field is fucking chicken, fried chicken. There's nothing more refreshing than that."
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, he threw it into their mouth or something.
I think that might be at the end of or, like, they throw chicken and then, like, they hit it with a baseball bat, kind of like in Happy Gilmore. Let me look it up real quick.
That was a neat nod to the fans. That was a good callback, I thought, having him don the mantle of Colonel Harland Larry David Sanders. I thought was a cool little nod there.
I've got an update here. So it was not Michael Jordan. I I was replacing one athlete for another because this athlete does not have the same marketability that he once did. It was Jason Alexander and Barry Bonds in in a baseball stadium, and it ends. They're playing baseball together, and then Jason Alexander's like, you know what I love to eat on a hot summer day is popcorn chicken from KFC. It's only $6.99. Blah blah blah. And then Jason Alexander tosses over a popcorn chicken to Barry Bonds, who then proceeds to hit it with a baseball bat and sends it flying out of the park for a home run.
Now that's what I'm talking
If
about.
y'all want to see it, it's right there. I know we're recording a podcast right now, but I feel like this warrants,
He looks visibly worse just 1 year later. I think that
Popcorn
chicken's
chicken.
really gotten to him.
I wish he was doing it like with Derek Jeter or somebody from the Yankees, so you could edit that into George's Yankee stint on Seinfeld.
I'm surprised they didn't try to use the fact that he was in Seinfeld as hey, we can make a little Seinfeld thing that's related to KFC. Like how they did that. They did that one Seinfeld commercial. The comedians in cars getting coffee. Seinfeld commercial years ago. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe he was I'm trying to get away from Seinfeld, so I'd rather take this KFC commercial a little more
What is a
seriously.
KFC commercial?
I don't know. I really don't know. But
I love that. I guess I don't love, but he stops playing George, 1998, Seinfeld, one of the most successful television shows of all time, and then within 3 years' time, he's doing KFC commercials.
yeah.
I guess what I'm
He's
trying to
back
say is
to
it's
where he
unfortunate
started.
Seinfeld got in the way of him finding his calling, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. 'Cause, I mean, he before Seinfeld, the McDLT commercial going on for McDonald's. That was his calling. It's my calling, Jerry.
Okay, so Jason Alexander said he did the stunt where he jumped from the second story of the mall, slid down to the first story, and gave the kids the chicken nuggets. But if you watch the commercial, he gets on the pole and then it cuts, and he suddenly has a constant acceleration, which would suggest that he had been free falling for some time. And I don't think that's. I'm thinking that's not. I'm thinking that's a dummy.
Did he really put out an announcement, like a PR statement saying that he himself did that stunt? Is that a real thing?
PSA.
Well, no, but I'm sure he would have
He would have said that he did the stunt himself.
cleared the air.
Yeah, that rings true, I suppose.
I've read stories where, and I think he's maybe come to terms with it now, or is better about it than he used to be. But Patrick Stewart used to be really upset when people would come up to him and they just remembered him for Star Trek.
Yeah.
And he would always lighten up when people would say, instead, oh, I saw you in A Christmas Carol, or oh, I saw you your performance in Hamlet, and that really stuck with me. I wonder how Jason Alexander would feel if you just walked up to him instead of saying, oh, you were great as George. It's oh, you were great as Colonel Sanders, or you were great as the guy that gave Barry Bonds refreshing popcorn chicken.
Mr. Stewart, I loved you as never mind. I was oh, I'll be able to find a really good joke really fast if I just go to his filmography page on Wikipedia, but I should have come up with one before I started talking. See, these are the pressures of recording a podcast with little editing, as well as trying to be funny. I don't know.
Millions of listeners.
Mr. Stewart, I loved you as King Goobot in the Jimmy Neutron movie. I don't know.
Do you guys remember the one where I don't remember what year it was, but where there's this nightclub and there's a bouncer letting certain people in, and there's this huge line that's wrapping around the building, and Jason Alexander just walks up with some KFC chicken.
No. I don't remember
He starts
that at
handing
all.
out to people in line, and there's a guy that's like Andy Warhol. Is this ringing a bell?
Was this
No,
like,
this one is not ringing a bell.
is that from the same time period?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Let's check this out. Oh, this kind of rings a bell. Now that I'm seeing it.
Also, we should make it known that we are not sponsored by KFC.
Or
Oh my
Monster.
God, there's so many Jason Alexander KFC commercials. I didn't realize there were this many. He's like going to other restaurants and being like, "Don't eat that burger. Eat this chicken leg." How would you feel if you were like sitting at McDonald's and it was like you were all dressed up in like your office clothes, like you were on break from your very serious job. You only had an hour lunch and you were eating a burger, and then Jason Alexander walks up to you and starts chastising you for eating McDonald's, and he's holding a bucket of KFC chicken in his arm, and he's like, "Here," and he hands you a chicken leg and sticks it in your mouth for you. Like, how would that make you feel?
Something not comparable at all to what I was eating.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he did it with like an ASMR voice, I think that would go a long way towards assuaging my fears.
Especially if he got real close up to you.
Really close up. Just, I guess, I don't know. It's all in the delivery.
And the DiGiorno.
In the DiGiorno. If he handed me a DiGiorno pizza, I'd say, get that shit out of here. But if he handed me a nice, juicy, crusty chicken wing, that makes all the difference in the world, I think.
Yeah. You know, Jason Alexander has also had a career as a director. He's directed multiple episodes of television, including an episode of Seinfeld, 2 episodes of Everybody Hates Chris, and most recently an episode of Mike and Molly entitled Vince Takes a Bath.
Oh wow, I didn't know that was his work. That was a really good one.
Yeah. It was really satisfying when Vince finally took that bath.
I mean, I feel kind of dumb in retrospect because I guess I probably should have been able to figure that out. That was Jason Alexander because he was bathing in a tub filled with popcorn. But
Jason Alexander,
now it makes sense.
Yeah, he was very passionate about KFC. He never gave up on it. One of his more recent roles was in the film Larry Gay, Renegade Male Flight Attendant, as Larry Gay's dad. The plot,
For which he won 2 Oscars.
He did. The plot of the film concerns a flight attendant who discovers that the airline company he is working for is trying to slash costs by having human flight attendants replaced with actual robots. So,
My God.
really good. This actually has sort of a stacked cast. It's got like Danny Pudi, Patrick Warburton, Rebecca
Seinfeld.
Ramjen, Stanley Tucci is in this, Henry Winkler, Molly Shannon,
God.
Taye Diggs, Marcia Gay Harden, Jason Alexander, of course, Eric Stoltz.
Oh wow.
And it was released direct to video on demand in June 2015 by MGM and Orion Pictures, which apparently still exists.
How did they get so many people?
I don't know. It was also whoever made this, Sam Friedlander. This was his first film. Possibly his only film. So I'm not sure.
I guess going back to the Jason Alexander KFC commercial where he goes down the pole, I just wanted to thank Jason, if he's listening, for making my favorite Christmas movie. I watched that with my family every Christmas. A lot of people, might not consider it to be a bona fide Christmas film, but I think it has all of the core characteristics that you need. It's about family. It's about togetherness. It's about overcoming the odds and deciding with the underdog.
Overcoming the odds that you could make it down a giant pole and land in a Santa's workshop building and come out the front door.
And it's just, I don't know. Do you guys get that same kind of sense of wholesomeness I feel like it radiates off of him in that one.
I think it comes through in all of Jason Alexander's work, especially for KFC, but also in Larry Gay, Renegade Male Flight Attendant.
Yeah, and the scene where he bathes in the chicken. I know that's it's unrelated, but it really, I guess it just almost kind of gets the blood flowing.
Oh yeah, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I definitely get where you're coming from, Hal. I feel like the commercial itself has some sort of, I don't know, unsavory messages being conveyed there. For one, it starts out with a strange man attempting to give children chicken, and it ends with a strange man giving children chicken. And throughout the commercial,
It comes full
that is
circle.
promoted as something that is okay to do, and I'm not sure I feel comfortable
Mm.
with that message.
Well, remember, this was a pre-9/11. Well, it was filmed pre-9/11.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
It was released post 9/11, but it was that immediate post 9/11 was a very interesting time in terms of the climate, the social climate. So it was, I think, acceptable in that time to.
Well, it's like when he jumps onto the pole, is he really jumping, or is he more so hijacking himself to figuratively crash into the pole?
And he does collapse down the pole into a building.
Yeah, he does, and I guess I don't know. Can we talk about like freedom fries?
We can.
Does the KFC chicken come with a side of freedom fries?
I just want to say really quickly, I've been reading about this Larry Gay Renegade Male Flight Attendant, or LGRMFA as the fans call it. I'm reading some information on IMDb. It's rated R for sexual content, and I'm looking at the parents' guide, and under sex and nudity, it says mild. There are 4 details on that. This is all that's written about the parental guidance. There's no nudity. There's sex scene in the beginning with no nudity. 2 guys are shirtless as they head to a pool. And finally, a guy strips to his underwear, thinking he is going to have sex midway through the movie, although it turns into an embarrassing event. So it was rated R because of that. Also, this film apparently references Boyhood, the film, and also Elaine from Airplane is in it, and they used...
Not from Seinfeld.
No, Elaine, no, from Airplane. And they reused the Don't Call Me Shirley joke from Airplane.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a really good joke. I'm glad to see it.
I guess
reused.
This is another 9/11 reference with, featuring actors from Airplane.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, let's take a break.
We are not endorsed by 9/11.
Speak for yourself. Let's take a quick break because this has gone off the rails already and into an area I'm not sure is good. But we'll be right back with more an interesting podcast. This is the 3rd episode, and we'll be right back with it as well as more of the same episode. Thank you. Look, we all have things we want to say. I like to talk, and so that's why we're here. You like to listen to me talk, and that's why you're here. Or you're just here because you like to talk and you want people to listen, but you just don't know how, and you need to vicariously live through my talking. If only there were a way that you could start talking to people yourself. I wish I knew, but unfortunately there's just no way. Wait, that's right. There is a way. Look, today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel or have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, documentary series, or radio play, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. BuzzSprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. We use BuzzSprout here, and we love it. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. within minutes of finishing your recording. That's so quick. You have no idea. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at BuzzSprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using BuzzSprout to get their message out to the world. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, and detailed analytics to see how people are listening, and more. Follow our link in the episode description to let BuzzSprout know that we here at the Uninteresting Podcast sent you, and if you sign up for a paid plan, you'll help support our show, and BuzzSprout will send you a $20 Amazon gift card. I can't even imagine the amount of things that I could buy on Amazon for $20. Look, it's just so easy to start a podcast these days. We all have recording devices, for better or for worse, and all you need is some basic gear and a quiet space. But if you ever want to upgrade from there, BuzzSprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right price, maybe using that $20 Amazon gift card. Let's create something great together. Follow our link in the description to get started at BuzzSprout today. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Uninteresting Podcast. We're back and hopefully a little bit more in control of what's happening here. I personally blame myself. We sort of derailed there. But anyway, let's go ahead and start. Hal actually had what I think is a really interesting topic to discuss. And why don't I'll go ahead and let you get started, and then we'll go from there. Sorry, this is a really weird formal way to talk about this that we normally just organically bring it up, but I didn't do that this time, so. Hal?
Oh, okay, so I was thinking, my condolences for everything. But, so I was just thinking before we started recording this, how the same situation, or similar situations can be different when you are a child. And the way I was kind of thinking about it specifically was being late.
Being late, yes.
When you are a kid, if you're late to school, there's just a sense of powerlessness that comes with the situation.
Because you're not responsible in school, really, unless you're walking.
Yeah, unless you're walking, but I mean, it's something that it just very much feels out of your...
But like more than any other instance, like in adult life or whatever, it feels like you're shamed for it by the system, by the school. You get punished for it more than you would in real life. I mean, you can get punished for being late in real life too, but it feels like in school they tally it up. They can punish you for it, and it's often not the fault of the student until maybe you get to junior or senior year of high school and they can drive themselves. But it seems a little unnecessary to punish children for being late when they can't drive.
Yeah, and contrast that with being an adult. It's still, I guess somewhat kind of shameful, but you have volition, so you can drive yourself, and I don't know, I feel like in a weird way, as you were kind of saying, Jordan, the consequences are almost more severe when you're a kid, or at least emotionally it feels that way.
Yeah, I can count on maybe one, maybe two hands how many times I've been late to my jobs as an adult, to the point where it was like more than a couple minutes late. That doesn't really count. And I'm usually thinking oh shit, this is horrible, I'm gonna get in trouble, this is embarrassing. And then it's not really a big deal. Maybe it's because normally I'm not late, but it doesn't feel as severe once you're there, once your boss is oh, don't let it happen again. It feels like people understand a bit more, like, oh, we all have lives and shit happens. But in school, when I don't know, it's just funny to me that children are punished for it when I don't know, it's very silly to me.
It is weird how it's like a complete inversion, whereby when you're younger and you have less control of the circumstances, the authority figures are more upset and you don't care as much. Whereas now, like you said with work, I care more. I'm more upset by being late because I am in complete control of my circumstances, and there's no reason for that to happen. But the people, the authority figures I'm answering to, care less.
Yeah, or at least understanding at least the circumstances in a way that
It's
adults teaching children aren't.
With school, it was upsetting because they get mad at you for being late, and then you proceed to go to like your first period class of like underwater basket weaving, and it's like I'm so glad that I missed 5 minutes of this very important information.
It's also interesting. They would always, I feel like in school, they would frequently use the like from elementary school, especially elementary school to middle school, like so 5th grade to 6th grade, and then 8th grade to 9th grade, middle school to high school, and then senior year to college and stuff. They would always use next year they're not going to be so easy on you, so we need to start being harder on you, so you understand, you learn your lessons. And it's like, I mean, you're mad at me. I understand my lesson well enough. You don't have to like severely punish me, but like they would get like harsher and be like, it's gonna be so hard next year, and then it would be easier or exactly the same. And then in adult life, like we said, very few consequences unless you make a habit out of it, which I don't know that anyone would on purpose. I don't know. It just seems like a weird lesson to teach that doesn't have to really be taught.
I remember freshman year, for some reason, I started the morning. I was in such a good mood. I think it was just there was just a lot of multiple things. I was just super happy, but it also happened to be like the one and only time I was like really late to school. I think there was some weather involved. I think there was rain because there were a lot of other people that were late too. But I remember being escorted through the front doors to this table, and I was in such a good mood. I wasn't really thinking about what was happening. I thought they were writing me a pass to my next class or whatnot, and so they were writing it out to me, and I was just being I don't know, I was just in such a good mood. I said, oh, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I took the slip from the lady, and I went to my first period class. I didn't realize that they had written me a detention slip.
Oh, nice.
Which, in retrospect, makes it seem like I was being just a jackass to this lady, because I was just like, oh, thank you so much. But that was during that window where they had that really strict policy where it's like if you're late for more than 15 minutes, even once, you get a detention.
Yeah.
But that makes me really crack up looking back on it, because I was just being so nice.
That makes me. You kind of unlocked the memory, Johnny. Do you remember when, I think it was freshman year for us, high school, when they had the fucking gate come down?
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh yeah.
They had a fucking like jail bars almost. It was like that security thing that you have like on mall stores, since they don't have actual doors. Like they put that like grid grate up. And they would put that in front of the fucking front, like in between the front doors and like the front hallway. They would put it down so that late people had to be like, "Oh fuck, I'm locked out of the school." I don't know.
I totally forgot about that.
And imagine that happening at your work.
Yeah. Like you get a call and you're like, "Oh fucking Johnson, you're so late. We need you at this meeting right now." And then you get to work and there's you just walk into a jail cell. And they're like, well, before you could go to the meeting that you need to be at, in order to help out with your job, we need you to sit here and think about how you're late for 5 minutes before we let you through. Like, fuck you.
Oh, man. I totally forgot about that.
I did too.
I remember that because that was like pretty much all year. And then I remember there was one time where I saw a janitor go, and he just lifted that gate up so nonchalantly and just walked underneath it. So I didn't even realize, because it looked heavy. It looked ironclad.
Yeah.
And you could just lift it up and walk under.
It's funny too, because I feel like by like senior year, you could, because they were also that freshman year they were very adamant, like seniors could not leave during lunch. Like they used to have that policy where seniors could leave during lunch and pick something up and come back, but then they were like, no, that can't happen. I feel like like our senior year, like you could just like walk out the front door and nobody would notice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or in the middle of the day and no one would care. They were very lax the last couple years, comparatively speaking to the first year when they made us write mandatory essays every single week. They would put down a gate so that we couldn't get into the school if we were 1 second past, 7:30 or whatever. Like it was so bizarre how much the faculty seemed to resent their students that first year.
I wish they'd continued to do the gate thing, because right after they stopped doing that is when they renovated the cafeteria, and it looked like that prison cafeteria.
Yeah.
So to have that and have the gates down.
Yeah,
that amazing.
That first year, that cafeteria was so fun. It had like all those layers and stuff. And then it was just like deep. The second year when they renovated it, was like built into the ground like a swimming pool. It was just flat the whole way through. That was very strange. And like all the tables were in perfect rows, like very uniform. Yeah, that was a weird change. Of course, this might not be interesting to people who did not go to the same high school as us, but I think I just find it funny when I find it funny how seriously like high school faculty takes themselves. Primarily, not so much the teachers, but like the people who run the school. They're like, it's almost like the dean from Community, how he's like taking it very like, we're a real college, and it's like the people running the high school have like, oh, we're the best high school because we're like a college. That was sort of the attitude I got from the faculty, and it was very, very amusing a lot of the times, but sometimes frustrating because they would have us write essays every week, which they don't have you do in college, or they would put gates down in the front of the school so that you couldn't get in, which they don't do in college. But, I don't know.
I never remembered my teachers getting upset.
Yeah. Most of my teachers were pretty forgiving and understanding. I mean, every once in a while you get somebody who's like, well, you should show up on time. But it's not like they could do anything. So they'd just be like, they'd give you like a look when you walk in late or something, but they'd keep going because why would they waste time bothering about it?
Right, yeah. I mean, there were a couple times where I had teachers that were late, and so I wonder if they had to deal with the gates.
I'd believe it. I'd believe it. I always admired teachers that were willing to write you notes if you stayed late in their class for a little bit. Like, even if you were just talking, like, they were understanding that, I don't know, this wasn't the most important thing, and you probably didn't need to go to your, I don't know, I can't even think of the most blow-offy class that we had because we at least I sort of treated them all the same. But because the first one that popped into mind was world geography, which, probably shouldn't have been a blow-off class, but, Anyway, we're getting into very specifics, I think. So sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if this would be the right time to mention a good high school memory. With the health class with you and another friend of ours. I guess I'll just bring it up because I've already mentioned it. Jordan and another friend of ours had a health class together, and one day I walked into the class and pretended to be in the class, and I took a test that they were taking, and I passed the test.
Yeah.
And this isn't really interesting, but I'm more proud of that one test than maybe all of the other tests I took in high school. Just because of the fact that I wasn't in the class. So
yeah.
I don't know what that says about our public education system. It certainly is indicative of the fact that I never graduated from high school.
You did that a couple times where you sat in on our classes, even though you weren't in that class. You did it
Yeah.
in physics.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I honestly feel like, I mean, the public school system does need some work. And it's very important that it exists, but it does need some work. But I feel like we had, I feel like probably one of the better public schooling experiences that you could probably have in the U.S.
Totally agree.
Like there were some problems with it, but it was not like a mess, really. It was just like stuff like the gate being ridiculous. I do remember freshman year also like people being arrested like every single day.
Oh yeah.
That happened all the time freshman year, and I was like, oh wow, are people that I know going to start getting arrested like in senior year? And it never happened. It was just for some reason everybody freshman year our freshman year that was older than us wanted to, I guess, fight, and then we'd get arrested and escorted out of the school. Very strange time that first year.
It's so bizarre. Yeah.
But
It's so weird.
anyway, we high school memories we got to from being late. This is sort of an inorganic segue now, but you know what's late?
My grandfather for years called his cell phone, because he was an early adopter of cell phones when they were huge in the 80s.
Literally.
He would call it his Dick Tracy. So, I mean, make of that what you will, I guess.
I don't understand.
He would call his dick Tracy? He would call his cell phone Dick Tracy?
Dick Tracy.
I don't.
Why?
Dick Tracy didn't use. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Dick Tracy, but it does take place in like the 30s, right? There were no cell phones.
I can't tell you more than that.
Wait, well, no, I
That's
mean,
fair.
like, okay, would he just randomly call it Dick Tracy, or was it like as he was receiving a call, he's like, oh,
He called it.
Dick Tracy?
I think he would say, I have to answer my Dick Tracy, or something like that, to where the phone was named after the character.
I would get like if he called it his Maxwell Smart or something, because the shoe phone from Get Smart. The Dick Tracy thing.
I mean, at least he didn't call it like my Inspector Gadget or something.
I would love it if he called it his Inspector Gadget. That would make more sense too.
It would make more sense, but we all have our quirks.
He would pull out the phone as it was ringing, and before answering, he would say, "I understand why all the kids are using this phone these days."
Castle my asshole.
Dude, we could talk about Mike Matei, but it's probably better we don't.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have even brought that reference up.
Yeah,
but,
my apologies.
Why desecrate our Jason Alexander Power Hour with his name?
It's the Jason Alexander Mike Matei Power Hour. It's like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, but it's Jason Alexander and Mike Matei.
That's a crossover I would want to see.
Yeah, that's what they should have done instead of the Irate Gamer AVGN would.
Oh no.
Let's just move on. Video games. Let's talk about video games. That's better to talk about than the Angry Video Game Nerd Irate Gamer crossover.
Yeah, just specifically about video games. Games you guys might have played that you thought would be bad, or at least wouldn't appeal to you, but you ended up really liking. I have a specific example.
Please.
I've known about Animal Crossing my whole life, essentially. And when I was a kid, it just did not appeal to me at all. I was really into like stuff we've been kind of talking about on our own before the podcast started. Things like Battle for Bikini Bottom, platformers, more action-based games, and just kind of the utopian simulation aspect of Animal Crossing. Just I didn't get it as a kid, but I'm playing it now, and I'm really enjoying it. And it just kind of got me thinking about, how your tastes might change over time. Just if you guys have any thoughts about that.
Well,
when it comes to games.
I feel like specifically regarding Animal Crossing, there's something to be said because at its core, the game is based around like the concept of farming in game design. I feel like it's pretty much but that's the whole game. And traditionally speaking, a lot of games that have a lot of like farming for experience or anything, it's just like I usually don't like it. But Animal Crossing, what little I played of Animal Crossing, because to be honest, I haven't. I've only recently picked it up as well, and I've only sort of played it here and there. But they have a very like it feels really good in that game, and it's very pleasant. And I mean, a lot of that is just the graphics and the music and the way the characters behave and act. It's very inviting, and it's like the perfect. Like they take a mechanic that's normally not fun and they make it fun by virtue of just doing it the best they can and making the game about it. And that's a lot of fun. I really appreciate it for that. I don't know if that made sense. I probably sounded like talking out of my ass.
I feel like, not to kind of detour here, but I feel like Animal Crossing could not have come out at a better time. The new one.
Yeah.
So this game where you're outside and exploring and enjoying nature and life, all things that we can't really do in our current situation.
Well,
it's
also being sort of a
coincidence.
Well, also being sort of a satire of like capitalism a little bit. Also fits this time with people who are probably actually going in debt because they can't pay their rent. Because, jobs are closed.
Because they can't,
They can't
catch
work.
butterflies or
Yeah, so they have to catch butterflies and give them to their landlords. And they're like, cool.
have to convince them of their value.
Which, I mean, if I could just be a professional butterfly catcher as my profession, I don't know. I feel bad about the idea of selling the butterflies, but I mean, you rake in so many bells. I mean, that might be a little too niche, but that's the currency for the game. If I could rake in, actual money for selling butterflies, I, on the one hand, would feel like an absolutely horrible person, but it would be nice,
Some people have made shit tons of money selling bells on like eBay and stuff that they've just accumulated by playing the game so much that they're selling them to people, and they make a shit ton of money doing that. So I mean, it's
the Liberty Bell.
The Liberty Bell
Is speaking of freedom fries, is it more profitable to fish in Animal Crossing, or is it more profitable to catch butterfly? I don't know. Netting. What kind of netting is more profitable? I guess I'm trying to say.
I
What
would
nets
say
you? What accrues the largest net profit of net? Yeah.
You can accrue more through fishing.
Okay.
But I have a bad habit. So there is an in-game museum where you can donate your specimens, and they will be shown off. I have a bad habit of selling my specimens before I donate them. And this is much to my own chagrin, because I like the idea of having these these specimens that I can show off. But I always forget. But to answer your question, I think fishing is the way to go. You can also sell turnips for mass profit, and there's an entire subculture revolving around the acquisition and selling of turnips. Again, could not have come at a better time considering the international turnip shortage, the turnip blight of 2020.
Which is not being talked about as much as it should be.
No.
Not in the slightest.
Just right here,
so,
baby.
Just covering the facts as we see them, facts and logic.
Now, which do you think you'd rather do, like in real life? Would you rather butterfly catch or fish?
I think
I would have to say butterflies.
I think I have
I would
agreed.
have to agree. I was never a fishing guy.
No,
I
it's
was reading about. Have you ever heard of magnet fishing?
no.
I want to go try it.
I
I'll have to update you guys where
What
you
does
go
it
out to these
mean?
lakes. You at the end of your hook, at the end of your line, you tie a magnet and you just throw it into dirty ponds and see what you get.
Oh, that's actually kind of fun.
I know I at first I was skeptical, but I'm like can see the appeal of that, and it's cheap.
yeah.
So, and I'm frequently around dirty water, so
Assuming the magnets aren't harmful to whatever might be living inside the body of water, I think also, I mean, it's a better hobby to get into than real fishing.
right.
Yeah.
That's also why I would pick butterfly catching, I think, because for one, it's more fast paced than fishing, and two, I mean, you don't have to kill the butterfly
Yes.
to have
Pierce it with metal.
yeah.
Well, it's kind of like jellyfishing, You can catch the jellyfish and then release them. You don't have to go the cruel, exploitative, capitalistic stance of Mr. Krabs and milk
Yeah.
the jellyfish for their jam.
Factory farm.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily factory farm
I assume that's what that
butterflies.
phrase is referring to. That kind of thing. I don't know what else it
I
would.
think that's appropriate, the terminology used there.
Um, in terms of games that I've played that I didn't necessarily think I was going to enjoy, but did. Um, sorry, my mind just completely blanked. I had one, and my mind just collapsed. But I like video games.
Oh, it's
Oh, I had
It's
an
okay.
idea. It's not. It doesn't exactly fit the criteria, because honestly, a game that I enjoy that I don't think I should enjoy, it at least not as much as I do, is Sonic the Hedgehog from 2006. Colloquially known as Sonic 06. Uh, and yes, I enjoy it in a way similar to how one would enjoy films such as The Room, because it is a bad game and there are a lot of things that are bad about it. But there is a point where I'm playing it and I'm genuinely having a good time because I like games that are sort of like it. It's that 3D platformer sort of thing for a lot of the game that I think is actually a lot of fun. But seldom would I admit that, and I also acknowledge that it's a poorly made one. But there's just something very fun about certain sections of the game. So I don't think it's good, but I do appreciate it in a sincere way, at least partially. So that's my answer. If that is valid.
Dusty Desert.
Dusty Desert.
What about you, Johnny? Any ideas? Not to put you on the spot.
I have a very bad habit of not sticking
Forgetting to breathe.
with games, which is not. I mean, even just expanding that to life in general, that's not a good habit. But if I'm not, even if I even if I've spent the money, if the game, I just never give it a chance. If I don't like it, then I usually abandon it pretty quickly. Not necessarily consciously. I think I usually do it with the intention of coming back at some point. It's like, oh, I'll give it another go. It's just not for me tonight. And I never really revisit it.
I feel that completely.
That's happened to me multiple times with
It-
Skyrim, with
Yep.
games
Skyrim
that
for me too.
necessitate maybe you. I don't know. I don't like games where. Well, okay. This is actually getting aside from your point. Sorry. I guess I was trying to justify myself. Games where it takes a while for you to have fun or take full advantage of the world. I'm not a big fan of. Not to say I don't like progression. I enjoy, making a name for myself. But I don't know. I guess I also, that's coupled with a lack of patience.
I totally get that, especially with games like Skyrim, especially with games like the Fallout games, as I sort of touch on in my Knights of the Old Republic video. Watch it if you haven't. But it's like, the only way I've started to appreciate those games is from my girlfriend who played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim a lot, and she knows those games really well. It's just like watching the game through her experience now is like, oh, I get how you can invest yourself with this story. If I don't know, it's sort of hard to say because it's totally like a subjective like point of view, like how you're interpreting it. But it's sort of like the first time I'm playing Skyrim, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this carriage and these people inside. I don't know what's happening, and I don't really care to find out. But if you do just care, and you can't just flip a switch. So I don't know what the trick is, but yeah, games like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I've tried playing a bunch of times, and I would put them down after a couple hours, and then I would be like, I'll come back to it later. And then like 2 or 3 years later, I would come back and play it for like 45 minutes to a couple hours, and would put it down and be like, maybe next time. And it's only recently that I've finally started to play those games. It's a bad habit. I agree.
I do just want to clarify that was meant to be more criticism of me than the games themselves. I'm sure Skyrim is great and a lot of fun, and I can't wait to play it on the PS5. But
when it gets re-released for the 6th time, yeah.
Yeah. It's ironic because, or maybe not necessarily ironic, but I enjoy films that are like that, where they slowly build to some sort of crescendo that kind of asks for your patience while they establish the proceedings. And I don't know, but when it comes to something where I'm actively playing that role, as necessitated by a video game, for some reason I just don't have the patience, I guess. But
same. I'm working on it.
Working on it, yeah.
It's so much easier when it's a game like Mario Odyssey or Battle for Bikini Bottom, where you're just this character that doesn't necessarily have to have a personality, but probably does, and you just sort of explore a world and collect I don't know. That's a much easier game for me to mentally immerse myself in, just because it requires a lot less from you as a participant in terms of mental investment, emotional investment.
Sure.
It's sort of the emotional and mental investment comes from you playing the game, and it's very easy to play the game, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, on that sort of note of self-reflection, let's take one more break. We'll be right back here momentarily with more Uninteresting podcast.
Hi. I have 3 weeks to live. Today, however, is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, documentary series, or radio play, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. This is where BuzzSprout comes in. BuzzSprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. We use BuzzSprout, and I think I speak for all of us when I say we love it. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories. I'm talking like Apple Podcasts. I'm talking like Spotify. I'm talking like Google Podcasts and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Now, podcasting isn't hard, okay? When you have the right partners. And the team at BuzzSprout is passionate about helping you succeed. And you're not going to be alone in this, okay? Join over 100,000 podcasters already using BuzzSprout to get their message out to the world. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can just drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and more. And just follow our link, okay, in the episode description. It lays it all out. and you're going to be letting BuzzSprout know that we're here at the Uninteresting Podcast sent you. And if you sign up for a paid plan, you'll help support our show, and BuzzSprout will send you a $20 Amazon gift card. Look, it's so easy. It's so fucking easy to start your own fucking podcast these days. We all have recording devices. They're all listening. They're all watching. All you need is some basic gear and a quiet space. But if you ever want to upgrade from there, BuzzSprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right price. So let's create something great together, okay? Don't do it alone, dipshit. Follow our link in the description to get started right fucking now.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Uninteresting Podcast. This is the third episode. I just thought I'd say that again. I think I've said it about 3 times. But we're back. So I'll just go ahead. This is a topic Hal wanted to bring up, but I'm going to go ahead and jump start. I've been looking recently. There was a board game that I used to play when I was a kid that I loved. I brought it to school, elementary school one time, when we were doing, like, bring your own board game. I think it was, like, tax test time. And you know how, like, they used to give us a week to do, like, one tax test back in elementary school?
Take it home.
Yeah, and then there would be, like, 4 days of doing nothing. So we would bring our own board games, and it was Campaign, and it was, like, a board game from the 70s or 80s or something. And it was, like, a presidential campaign board game. You'd pick your political party, and you'd draw, like, cards and roll dice, and you would gain electoral votes. Like, you had to get to 270 or... you know, both of you get to 270, whoever has the majority, whatever. Kind of like an election. I don't know if you've heard of those. But you would go through, like, the primary process on the outside ring, and then you would go to, like, the electoral ladder or something. There was, like, a ladder on the board, and you would, like, go up the ladder. And I cannot, like, there are so many election or campaign board games. I cannot find that one, and I don't have it anymore. I don't know if it's maybe in an old closet somewhere in my parents. I really don't know, but I have no idea. It was like, I think the outside of the box was green. The cover had, like, a donkey, maybe, because the Democratic Party, although I think I feel like it was a zebra. I don't know why, but it was like...
Oh, that does sound kind of familiar.
Carrying, like, an American flag in its mouth, and there was, like, the White House in the background, and... it said Campaign really big at the top, and then it had, like, some slogan like America's game. It wasn't that. But, you know, it was like a sentence.
The official board game of George W. Bush.
Yes. It was some sort of
Lean
sentence
forward.
like that, like the game, the race to 270 or something like that. You know, I don't know. But I have been trying to track this game down, and I found similar games. I have not found this one, and I want to. But are there any games from your childhood that you might have played, any board games that, I mean, they can be something like Monopoly or Clue that you have fond memories of, but are there anything that's sort of obscure like that? Like, there are a lot of board games that get made that do not have the mainstream success that those do, but, like, your family will have bought them and they'll be really big in your house for one reason or another. Is there anything like that with you guys? Something like Campaign?
I just have a lot of fond memories of playing. Do you know the game Stratego?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that game. I guess it was like in elementary school. But I had completely forgotten about playing board games during, like, tax week.
Yeah.
When I had to file my taxes as a child.
For context, there used to be this thing, a standardized test in Texas called the tax test, which is not now, it's the STAR test. They're both equally ridiculous and silly. But anyway, we would have these long weeks at school where we would take the test, and then there would be, like, 4 remaining days where we would do nothing. Anyway, that was just to provide some context for the list.
Yeah, but I would say that I have a lot of good memories of playing Stratego, and I only played that whilst in elementary school. I never played it again, so it's kind of... thinking about that game is kind of almost like a little time capsule for me.
I only ever played it.
I would really like to play it again.
Yeah, it's kind of like chess, but not. I don't know. I forget exactly the details of it. I only played it a few times at house. I'll bleep that name.
I was gonna say, whoa. Okay.
But I
I
only
can't believe you were in the White House.
me and Malia were playing the game together, and but no, I only played it a few times, and I was like so into that game. I never bought it myself, so that I had a copy of it, but I was really into it because it sort of had that like risk element where it's like there is strategy involved, but it's also chance.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah,
also
I really liked that.
yeah, but it's also like chess in that there's these pieces on a board on a grid that you have to sort of like move around and they all had different like point values or something. It was kind of like if you mixed chess and war, the card game, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember it well enough to say for sure, but yeah. I like Stratego, I think. I'd like to play it again sometime. That's one thing I'm really excited for all this COVID stuff to be done because it'll be really fun to have like game nights. Do you remember game nights when people used to do board game nights? That
Game night was one of my favorite board games growing up. It's been a while since I played it.
game night?
Of course, Mystery Date.
Game night, is that the one with I almost said Jason Alexander, Jason Bateman? Or am I
Oh,
thinking of,
the
I'm
movie.
thinking of Date Night with Steve Carell.
Is it date night and there is game night with Jason Bateman.
Okay.
You're right.
And Steve Carell.
And Steve Carell and date night with Tina
I
Fey.
used to play both of those a lot.
Both of those movies.
It's weird. I like literally like right up to 5th grade, all of elementary, I was very big into board games, and wasn't a conscious decision on my part, but I just like have not played board games at all until like the last 2 years or so, and it's been a lot of fun just trying to revisit the ones I enjoyed, and then also stretching out, trying to do some new ones.
Yeah, I must thank
playing the
you.
games correctly helps. Chess was a game that I was really big into when I was little, but I never played it correctly in the sense that like I would look up all these like super obscure, because I wanted to show everybody I knew all these advanced moves. I would look up all these advanced situational plays, and then I would go to chess club in elementary school, and I would just try to force, not even win the game, just try to make these super obscure plays happen. Which, I mean, in retrospect, was very dickish and not very effective, as it turns out.
Did you ever do the thing with the rook where you move the king and the rook switch places?
Yes, as it turns out, that's a very viable strategy. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it though, so I never do. I don't know the actual like the situation.
It's consensual. You ask,
Okay.
and then you have to ask the other opponent if you can do it. One rule that I thought was funny is that if you get your pawn, so it's kind of like checkers. If you get your pawn into the enemy's space, on the other side of the board, that pawn can. Well, in checkers, it's king me, but it becomes a queen.
Yeah, I think it can become any type you want. But
yes, which I didn't know that until recently.
Yeah, but
it's like, why would you
pick
choose
anything
to be
else?
anything else?
When
You
the
can
queen
even
could literally do
you can
anything.
even choose. It's in the rules. You can just leave it a pawn, which I think is hilarious. Put all that trouble.
Turn it into two pawns that share a space.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Turn that pawn into Catan.
I want to say yes. Thank you, Johnny, for introducing us to Settlers of Catan. It's a very fun game. Similar to, like I said about Risk and Stratego, it perfectly combines chance and strategy, and it's a lot of fucking fun. So thank you.
Oh, I am tickled that both you guys enjoyed
Yeah.
it as much as you did. For whatever reason, growing up, I didn't like the idea of resource collection games. I don't know why. It just made me kind of anxious, just thinking like, oh, I have to go out and get copper and then manage my stock. But which sounds silly, but I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But now I'm really into that. There's a new expansion that I picked up that I would love to play with you guys. Where it's called Seafarers of Catan, and it's where the resources are unknown, so you have to venture out Well, okay, so you have a small settlement of known resources, and you can either choose to settle those resources or sail out to uncharted territory with the potential of discovering new resource hotspots. And I think that's kind of a fun dynamic.
Ooh.
That sounds fun. I would like to do like I think it would be fun to do like let's plays for board games on the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think that would be like do it nice, like get a few cameras together and mic everyone up and stuff. But I think that would be a lot of fun.
I also, just in the last couple months here, I played Mahjong for the first time, which is something I really wanted to play. I wanted to play Pai Sho from Avatar, but that's not real.
I think they've made real versions of it though.
Oh,
like I think you can probably find them on Etsy and stuff and they have like real rules and stuff.
Oh, see, that's cool.
That's awesome.
But the only time I've played Mahjong was on Club Penguin. Or no, that's Mancala.
Mancala. That's
They have Mahjong too, don't they? Though they have, like in the dojo, they added it. Maybe not. I don't know what I'm talking about.
That seems maybe a little complicated, but I mean they have Mancala. So.
I think I just got them mixed up because they start with M.
Club Penguin?
I don't know. I never understood it. As a child, I couldn't wrap my head around the rules, but I played it quite a few times.
It was like one of the first games. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Do any of you have like any weird house rules to games that you didn't realize were weird until you played them with somebody outside of your family? I feel like I come across that a lot. Like especially with games like Uno, a lot of people have really weird house rules. Like some people have house rules where like if you play a 7 or a 0, then you have to like switch hands with someone. I don't know. There's like weird shit.
Sorry, you talking about the house and the house rules just made me think of like in a casino where you're playing against the house and just playing Uno, forcing your hand.
Playing chips. Uno for chips, and then somebody plays a 7 and they're like, it's fun. I don't know.
Uno, you won $5 million.
Yeah.
I guess one house rule when we're playing Uno is that I only ever get one card. Which,
so it's really easy for you to win then.
It's really easy, and no one else ever gets... everyone else gets a normal hand.
Yeah.
I always win Uno for that reason. Another
one on Monopoly, apparently, like, the concept in Monopoly of putting, like, your tax money and stuff in the middle, and then whoever lands on free parking gets all that money, that's a house rule. That's not in the... It might be in the rules now, but it wasn't originally in the rules of Monopoly, but everybody I know seems to play it like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's sometimes weird house rules that I've noticed, but it's mostly games like Uno and Monopoly where there's a lot of rules already, so people are like, let's make this more fucking complicated. We used to play Scrabble a lot. Remember when we would play Scrabble a lot?
Yes.
Yeah. God, Scrabble's not my game. It's so fun, but I am not very good. You guys.
Well, that's another thing where it's based simultaneously on strategy/skill and luck. Because I mean, if you just draw R's the whole game, you're not going to be able to play anything. But I mean, it's all chance. Really. I recently got a hold of like the deluxe version of Scrabble from when I was a kid, like the edition I had when I was a kid that has like the turntable and everything.
Oh, nice.
Scrabble. I love me some Scrabble.
Hal and I have been playing Codenames. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I think you mentioned it briefly to me, but okay, I don't.
That's right.
I don't recall.
I really want to play that with you. I think you'll have either some fun or some frustration with that one. But I can see you having a knack for it.
We should do that sometime. I mean, the state's open, so we could get together. I guess. I mean, we're all responsible. It's open, and then it was open, and now it's like slightly open. Like they've closed the door halfway, but the
gate is not shut.
Yeah, exactly. But a nice like sort of sequel to board games in my life and that we've all experienced are sort of the Jackbox party games.
Oh,
those are sort of like
absolutely.
They're similar to board games in the way that they're played compared to video games, but they are video games. So, but those are a lot of fun as well.
I think honestly, some of the most fun I've had in the last couple of years is just
Oh,
playing
yeah.
that with you guys.
Yep. For sure. Certainly. I speaking of board games, this memory keeps popping up in my head, but I vividly remember in elementary school, Chase, our friend Chase Hendrickson, for show and tell. I guess we were doing show and tell. He and I never had a class together, so I don't know why I experienced this. I think now that I think about it, I think we didn't have like a specific show and tell, but he came into our class from another class to show us this for some reason. Sorry, Chase, if you're listening to this for some reason, and if I also got the story wrong. But he and his family had made there was this thing called Make Your Own Opoly, where it was like a blank Monopoly board that they gave you like a software CD with, so you could print a bunch of stuff for it. And he and his family had created Hendricksenopoly. But anyway, it was like a board game with that was about him and his family. I don't know. I just thought that was the coolest fucking thing when I was a kid, because anything that was like customizable was amazing. Like that you could make your own board game blew my mind, and I wanted so badly to make my own board game. I made a few board games when I was a kid, like in Microsoft PowerPoint, that I would like print out and like tape together and stuff that weren't good or made any sense, but that was the kind of thing I was into.
That was an assignment we had in 3rd grade, was to make our own board games. And I
Oh
wish
my
I still
God.
had mine. I was really proud of mine.
Oh my God, you just unlocked a memory for me.
Did you have something similar?
Yeah, and it was in 5th grade, and I think the board game was about the Civil War, because it was for like our history class. Like we all had to make a Civil War board game, and I was
Oh no.
yeah, I think it was Civil War. I wish I could remember. I wish I still had it, because I remember being really proud of it. But it was like
Captain America.
we were in groups of 2, and I'll bleep this name because I don't. But and I were in a group together, and we just made like a funny game. And if it was about the Civil War, then it's probably good that it was lost. But I don't remember what it was. It was something to do with history. It was. I think it might have been about the Oregon Trail, or just that phenomenon in general, like traveling in your covered wagon to get to a new part of North America. I think that's what it was. But we had created all these cards and all these dice and stuff that we thought were really funny. I wish I still had it. That would be really cool. We put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, I don't know what becomes of stuff like that. I think you go through a period where it's like, this was dumb. But I wish I had mine, because
Yeah.
I remember being really proud of it. I wish I could remember what it was called. Checkers. That's very fun.
Mahjong.
Mahjong. Checkers 2.
Checkers too.
Yeah, that seems like just like a no-brainer to be able to either like through the website or something, like design, like from Hasbro or something, design like a board game and then just order it and have them ship it to
Yeah.
your own custom. I don't know.
'Cause
I think a lot of people would be in on that.
Because they could just print a thing on a board, print a sticker that goes onto a board. It'd probably be
Yeah.
pricier than a real board game, but like people would pay money for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw in Walmart recently, there was a McKinney-opoly that was actually created by someone and was sold. And I haven't played it, but I can't imagine it's good.
What would you
Well,
pass El Dorado to collect your gold or something?
I think there were some classic cars on the cover, so it was like the whatever it is that we did the video for. The Chase
It would be
Chesapeake.
all just
we
just
didn't.
car dealership
Instead of railroads,
instead of railroads.
it's the Ford dealership.
Boardwalk is Lake Arsenic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's another topic.
That's cute though. That's cute.
For another time.
yeah. If anyone could find me that campaign game, by the way, I would really appreciate it. If we can search that down, I would like to buy one and play it.
I wish there was a Gunsmoke board game.
Ooh, you got there before me, Hal, because you know what time it is?
I think
It's
we know what time.
all the time we have for today. Thanks for talking, guys. It's been fun.
It's time for The Gunsmoke episode of the week presented by Monster Energy.
The Uninteresting Podcast Gunsmoke episode of the week presented by Monster Energy. Thank you, Monster Energy.
Which we are not endorsed by. So, fun fact, James Arness, who of course plays Matt Dillon, was in Hondo, okay, the 1953 film starring John Wayne. Lee Acker was also in Hondo. He was in the 1954 Western Destry with Mary Wicks, who was in The Hunchback of Notre Dame with Jason Alexander.
Oh, wow.
Bringing it full circle there. Jason Alexander, of course, would go on to star in 22 seasons of Gunsmoke, but... anyways, yes, sorry. This week's episode... There's that iconic scene where Jason Alexander walks up to Matt Dillon in the desert and hands him a case of popcorn chicken. No, sorry. So this week is Arizona Midnight, Season 18, Episode 15. Really not a whole lot to talk about here. It's like a 5-minute story stretched to be 52 minutes worth of content. Basically, there's really nothing to read into here. There's no B plot or anything. We have a man of a man of shorter stature, played
Jason
by
Alexander.
Jason, played by Billy Curtis, who was known for playing men of shorter stature. In the 30s, he actually starred in a horror film called The Terror of Tiny Town. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. Basically, this man rides in on a giant horse into Dodge, and he says that he will, at midnight, he will turn into a were-elephant. And he just goes around telling people he's going to be turning into this elephant, so watch out. And then people start buying into it. He's the shorter man is going to be turning into an elephant.
Right.
And this news reaches the sheriff's ears, and people are like, you got to do something about this guy. He's going to turn into an elephant. And Matt Dillon's like, no. And then midnight comes around, and the dude turns into an elephant. And he's wandering around. It turns out he's not actually the elephant. He worked for some circus that went out of business. He has fostered this relationship with the elephant, who he cares very deeply about, but is unable to pay for it. So he comes up with this plan to go to Dodge and win the hearts of the people there before turning into an elephant, so that the people will take care of the elephant for him. And it's a very touching.
Does he win the
movie.
hearts? It sounds more threatening than like he's making a like, oh, I'm gonna turn into an elephant. It sounds more like a threat than like a.
This is gonna happen. I will be turning into an elephant.
Whether you like it or not.
And so half the episode's people thinking he's not gonna turn into the elephant. The other half, minus a minute, is them thinking he's an elephant. And then the last minute is him saying, hey guys, I'm not actually the elephant. But it still works very much in that vein of Gunsmoke, in that it's this vision of a seedier West. And yeah, that's this week's episode. I'm sorry it's not more tantalizing, but that's, this such is life in the Old West. It wasn't glamorous. Some days you had shorter men turning into elephants in the light of a full moon. And that's the reality those people lived with.
Hey, it's a full moon tonight.
It's a full moon tonight.
That we're recording this, probably not when it goes.
I mean, like at the OK Corral, they didn't actually... there was no gunplay. It was more elephant play, I guess. Is kind of what you saw there. Yeah, are you following me?
I have to ask, was there a real elephant in the episode?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure how they would like get an elephant, like a trained elephant, or if they would just like
have like a horse
imply
where an elephant.
or
Yeah,
like
okay.
use stock footage where it's like clearly the elephant was not there.
Repurpose a tentacle from some octopus set
Yeah.
and make it like a trunk or something.
Put a little
yeah,
nose at the end of it. Put like a Groucho Marx glasses at the end of it.
It's no, it's a real elephant, and I guess the following week that elephant appeared in a crossover episode of Mr. Ed, where it's revealed that he actually was a talking person who turned into an elephant. And he.
Oh wow.
Okay, I'm gonna abandon the joke. Gunsmoke, episode of the week, brought to you by Monster.
Thank you, Monster Energy.
But not really.
But not really. Not really. OK Corral, that was a fun board game I played growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Neither am I. I've never played it. But, yeah, thanks a lot for talking, guys.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. This has been the third episode of Uninteresting the third episode of Uninteresting Podcast. I want to thank my fellow hosts, Johnny and Hal, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. This has been the Jason Alexander Fun Power Fan Hour.
Jason, if you're listening, please, we need a fourth guest.
I thought you were going to say, like, please, stop.
Please
We need
stop.
to talk to you about being Larry's dad in
And Larry Gay.
Larry Gay. We have questions. Call us, please.
All right, thanks, Jason. And we're out. Well, thank you, fellas. Thank you yet again.
It was a pleasure and a privilege, and I guess I just need to thank Jason again for conceiving me.
Oh, that's true.
We should have come back to that.
Yeah.
We didn't even touch that one. I didn't know what to say.
But we will see you next week, where the pregnancy test results will be positive.
Whose pregnancy test? Howdy, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Uninteresting Podcast. Like I said at the start of the show, we've got more coming soon on a roughly bi-weekly basis. We've got some special guests coming in episodes soon. I'm really excited about that. I've plugged the Patreon in previous episodes, and we're currently looking to retool how that's set up a little bit. We don't have everything set in stone, but one of the things relating to this right now is that there will be, now that we have ads in the episodes, the show is ad supported, they will be ad free, so they won't have it'll probably have that introduction that I had at the start of the episode, but I'll probably cut this out. I'll cut out those BuzzSprout ad reads, and we've got some other ad reads we will be doing in future episodes. But if you're just listening to the free episodes, don't be discouraged. For one thing, you can skip them if you want. Don't tell anyone I said that, please. But hopefully we make them I think the one Johnny did in this episode is pretty funny. So yeah, that's just a little after note. Don't worry about it. But okay, yeah. If you made it this far and you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Consider checking us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And on that note, please subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to subscribe, don't subscribe. I don't know why you would. Anyway, new videos coming soon. New episodes of the podcast coming soon. I don't know. It's gonna be good. I started this with a really clear idea of what I was gonna say, and now I'm gone. Okay. Bye.